victims of oppression, for the tyrants fear your might. Don't cling so hard to your possessions, for you have nothing if you have no rights. Let racist ignorance be ended.
This year marks the 90th anniversary of the birth of the Communist Party of Canada. From its founding convention, held in a barn in Guelph, Ontario in 1921, until today, we have striven to remain true to our guiding principles and theory, and to realize them in our daily activities and struggles, as a revolutionary party of the working class of Canada, based firmly on Marxism-Leninism and proletarian internationalism. As we celebrate this anniversary, we consider the many contributions and achievements of our party over these 90 years. We celebrate organizing the unorganized, forging most of the industrial and public sector unions which exist today in our country, and building and leading the farmers' movements for survival and dignity. We celebrate organizing the ranks of Canada's unemployed during the Great Depression, launching the On to Ottawa Trek, and mobilizing thousands of young volunteers to fight against fascism in Spain and across Europe during World War II. We celebrate our contribution in building the peace and disarmament movement in the post-war years, and spearheading the historic struggle within the labour movement in English-speaking Canada to recognize the national rights of Quebec. We celebrate helping to forge the Pan-Canadian student movement in the 1970s, helping to build broad movements for civic reforms, universal health care, and defense of Canadian sovereignty. All of these and many other episodes in our history we remember with pride. And we remember, too, that our revolutionary activities were carried out in circumstances of unrelenting hostility and attacks from Canada's ruling capitalist class and its state. We remember when our comrades were forced to work under conditions of illegality, when Tim Buck and other party leaders and members were convicted and imprisoned. We remember well the McCarthy-style witch hunts, which targeted our members and supporters and communist-led unions, the secret pro-funk plans of the Canadian state to round up and incarcerate thousands of communists and their families. Our members stood steadfast under the constant ideological propaganda and physical attacks against our party, from both the right and left, because it refused to succumb to anti-Sovietism. We remember all these difficult days and honor the memory of those comrades who endured such outrages with courage and resolve. We came to understand that the class purpose of those attacks was not only to weaken and diminish our ranks, and to isolate the communists from our living ties to the working class. It was also done in the hope of shaking communists from our class bearings and pressuring the party to abandon its revolutionary theory. In this context, we mark another anniversary this year. It has been 2 decades since the inter-party struggle which almost liquidated our party. In the 1980s, George Hewison assumed the party leadership, and shortly thereafter a group of opportunists gradually gained ascendancy within the Central Committee of the CPC. They were able to do so by concealing their liquidationist agenda and by taking advantage of confusion and disorientation within party ranks due to developments in the former Communist Party of the Soviet Union, where under Gorbachev's stewardship the clouds of counter-revolution were gathering. In due course, this clique set about dismantling our party piece by piece, starting with the dissolution of the Young Communist League, and layoffs of party cadre, and then the closure of the party's print shop and publishing house, and progressive bookstores across the country. As their liquidationist project gained momentum, this group began to openly break with the ideological principles and political line of our party. They began negating the history of our party and of the international communist movement as having been sectarian, or vanguardist, or doctrinaire. They advanced reformist ideas about incremental change as a substitute for the concept of revolutionary transformation. They decreed that imperialism was an outdated concept, which supposedly no longer characterized post-industrial capitalism. They attacked democratic centralism, the organizational principle of our party, and set about dismantling party clubs and other structures. Over time, their denunciations of Stalinism led to attacks on Leninist ideas, and ultimately to a refutation of Marxism itself. They proposed that the party change its name, dropping all reference to communist from our banner. Ultimately, however, the membership defeated their plans and saved the Communist Party from destruction, but at a heavy political, organizational, and financial cost. Ours was not the only Communist Party to go through such a convulsive experience. Other parties around the world went through similar and sometimes worse trials during those difficult years. The lessons from that painful episode are important for the Communists in Canada, veterans and new members alike. They are lessons which can also be useful to Communists internationally in our common struggle for social emancipation, for an end to class exploitation and oppression, for socialism. Based on our 90 years of struggle, on our program, Canada's Future is Socialism, our Constitution, and on the decisions reached in conventions, the Communist Party of Canada understands its nature and role, and undertakes its political activities, as guided by the following considerations. That the main contradiction underlying capitalism in Canada today is the class struggle between the capitalist class and the working class, a contradiction which can only be resolved through the revolutionary transformation of our society from capitalism to socialism. We strive to be the leading political party of the working class, of all who labor by hand and brain. We have no interests separate and apart from those of the working class as a whole. Our party supports the struggle for immediate reforms to improve the conditions of the working class and the people under capitalism. We seek unity with all other forces which support such advances. At the same time, our party never loses sight of the ultimate goal of socialism. There can be no other course to socialism other than through the revolutionary overthrow of the existing order. We safeguard our independent role as a revolutionary party of the working class. We oppose tendencies or pressures to submerge this independent role. We speak directly, visibly, and openly in our own name, and engage in the battle of ideas against bourgeois and reformist and class collaborationist concepts that weaken and divide the movement. The world outlook of our party is based on Marxism-Leninism, which embodies the theory of scientific socialism developed by Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, and V.I. Lenin. Marxism-Leninism is a living, developing theory, a tool of analysis and guide to action. Our proletarian internationalist outlook is reflected both in our struggle to achieve socialism in Canada and in our active solidarity with anti-imperialist and revolutionary struggles and efforts to build socialism around the world. Our organizational principles are determined by our political aims. Our party is founded on firm ideological, political, and organizational unity, and on close contact with the working people. Democratic centralism is the organizational principle which ensures this. This is where we stand. These are the principles which we unwaveringly defend.